What is your scare about to find my mom's body in the freezer. I opened it, and it was just a busted bag of frozen cherries.
My mother told me this story from when I was a baby, about 2 years old, I believe. For some context, there was my father, my mother, 2 of my older brothers, and me. We just moved into a house for the first time, and it had an attic, main floor, and a basement. The basement contained the bedrooms. There was one specific room that had some steps, which basically made it slightly lower than the rest. It was the biggest room, so my eldest brother claimed it. After a week, my brother complained about the lack of sleep and did not like the room. He kept saying something felt off. My other brother asked to switch, since he always wanted the biggest room. A week later, the same thing happened to him. He can't sleep right. The room feels wrong, and he claims to see things in the dark. My mother believes that it might just be a placebo effect mixed with young children moving to a new home they aren't familiar with. She then moves me in the room instead. I was there for 3 days and would cry each time it was bedtime. I would wake up and scream my lungs out until I lost my voice. On the 3rd day, after my father went to work and my brothers were getting ready for school, my mother decided to throw baby powder everywhere in the room. She would blast it on the floor everywhere, covering it all. Something felt off. She took off with me and my brothers. We had our day like usual. Once everyone got home, my mother went into my room. Traces of 3 clawed human-sized footprints were everywhere. The floor, the walls, and even the ceiling. My mother called my father in a frenzy at the sight. We moved out a week later. The door was locked during that time, and I was moved in my parents' room for the time being. What's the creepiest or scariest thing you've accidentally found on the internet?
I remember at some point a few people in the usual Facebook channels were going crazy about Ziz, which confused the freak out of me. Turns out he was some sort of bodybuilder, with an in no way out of proportion or cultish following, mostly among men. Entirely among men. I've yet to meet a woman who's heard of him, but apparently his charisma was such that men became deeply entranced by him. Again, never heard a woman's opinion on this. This being the internet, the fan club wasn't the weird part. The weird part was that my attempts to understand why he was so popular led me to a site whose entire purpose was the discovery and discussion of attractive dead people. The comments ranged from so sad he had to go to the more disturbing my wish I could have been there. One more click and I landed in a website that wasn't just a forum, but hosted all sorts of videos for the discerning. You had your videos of bodies decomposing, your action shots of people ending in exotic situations, or other situations if that's what you're in the mood for. These I avoided, but I'll admit that I indulged in the forums, where people would post the deaths of celebrities, or just obituaries, and kind of talk. Honestly, the internet is a crazy place full of wild things, but the forums of that site were full of that kind of conversation that made me very sick. It was like everyone was talking to themselves in the most serial, unoliverish way, about how wonderful passing was, and how exciting the whole situation was, and what intimacy would be like pre- or post-mortem. And if there's one thing that creeps me out, it's online forums not being used as tools for stimulating discussion. This is something I read in a magazine ages ago. No idea who wrote it, but it stayed with me since childhood. This is a super condensed version. Basically, about a little boy that loves ice cream. One hot summer day, the ice cream truck comes into his neighborhood. So he grabs some cash from his mum and runs out to see what's there. As the other kids are placing their orders, he sneaks around to the back and sees the door slightly ajar. He's so excited, he has to take a look. He slowly opens the door and sees the boxy ice cream freezer before him. He takes a step up on the back to reach for the lid, but sees the ice cream truck driver staring at him. He looks over at the lid, and it's slightly opened as well. The frozen hand of a little girl with her cold, dead fingers are curled around it. Sandwiched in by the lid, the driver puts his finger up to his lips and whispers "she," and places the hand back inside. The boy steps back, while the grinning driver closes up the back door and drives off. That ice cream truck song slowly fading away. Later that night, as his mom puts him to bed, she slides open the bedroom window to let in a cool breeze. Somewhere in the distance, he can just make out that same familiar melody playing.
I work midnight shift at a gas station, and I have for quite a while at various stations in different areas with varying levels of criminal activity. I have regulars, of course. I'm a small-statured woman, as is my partner the other half of the week. And we've always been partners, so these regulars often worry about us and keep watch on creepy occurrences when they can. I had one man who worked in the metro an hour away who would stop in every morning for his cigarettes. He never smiled or seemed friendly, and as I often do, I tried to think of what I could do that might make him smile one day. It took many months, but I finally pulled it off by having his cigarettes ready on the counter and already scanned for him to pay for as he walked in. He smiled and then asked me,
"Do you ever get scared on the night shift? You small girl is not safe."
I said, I sometimes did, but we could lock the doors and hide if we had to, and that the provincial police think state troopers, if your American had a station close by and came in often to get their highway vehicles washed. I had a good rapport with those police. He nodded and then told me a story about when he first moved to our country from Eastern Europe with his wife and child back in the late 80s. Early 90s, he fell asleep at work one night at the gas station. He worked midnights when he woke up. The phone had been ringing for hours and his manager was shaking him violently, asking if he was all right. He was fine. He said, "What was the problem?" He was sorry he fell asleep. His manager screamed that it was fine. He fell asleep. To look outside, all of their motor oil was missing and the outside of the place was a mess. The thieves had come and swiped all the oil and left him be because he slept through the entire thing, and then moved down the road to the next station for an encore. At that station, the clerk was awake and fought back, so the thieves stabbed him to end and left him to bleed out. When he finished telling me this, he concluded with, "If you ever feel sleepy, just lock the door and do it. It might save your life." I don't work at that station anymore, but I think about that guy all the time and wonder how his grandkids are.
In the 1990s, a nurse in New Jersey eliminated hundreds of hospital patients. Sometimes he would sneak into patients' rooms at night and inject them with fatal medication doses. Other times, he would put the medication into 4 bags in the supply room, so they would kill whatever random patient they were given to later. He was accused several times. Some patients pointed him out before they passed away. Some staff thought he was creepy and dangerous and refused to work with him. He kept getting fired from hospitals, but the hospital managers knew that if he got arrested, they would be sued by the families of the patients he'd get rid of. So they just fired him and didn't call the police. That happened at 12 different hospitals over the course of 16 years. Investigators believe he took out as many as 400 people. After he was arrested, he confessed to 40 cases. In 29 of them, he gave enough detail to be charged and plead guilty. He is linked to 300 more tragedies than that. But details of those will probably never be known, because so much information was lost over time or destroyed by the hospitals.
When I was learning to drive, my instructor advised me to always lock my car doors as soon as I get into my car. I asked her why, and she told me her personal experience. This happened almost a year after she passed her test. She finished work about 3 a.m. She'd just gotten into her car and gotten her keys in the ignition. When 3 guys jumped into her car, she had a knife to her neck and was told to drive. They gave her directions to an alleyway. They dragged her out of the car and violated her. After they were done with her, they left her in the alleyway and stole her car and purse. It took her a while to get help. Police did find her car a few days later, abandoned and on fire, on the outskirts of the city. But the guys were not caught. The reason she started to teach driving was her way to protect other women and make sure no one else goes through what she went through. So she advised all her female students to lock their car doors as soon as they get in. Hi, I'm not great at writing these, so sorry if this comes off weird or rambly. I've just been holding this in for a while and don't really have anyone I can talk to about it. Hoping maybe someone here has been through something similar. So, there's this girl. I'll call her E for privacy. We've been seeing each other for a while now. I wouldn't say we're official, but there's definitely a connection. I know what that feels like. That spark, you know? It's been there since the first time I saw her in line at the pharmacy. She laughed at something the cashier said, and I swear I fell for her then and there. Anyway, lately she's been acting different. Not cold, exactly. Just weird, like she's worried about something. She keeps looking over her shoulder when she's walking, like someone's following her. She holds her bag tighter, walks faster. She even started taking a different route to work. I remember she'd always stop at the cafe for a morning coffee. Now she cuts through side streets or sometimes loops around through the park. I thought about talking to her that day, but couldn't find the words. She used to dress a certain way too. Cute soft sweaters, long skirts. Lately it's hoodies, baggy coats, sometimes even a hat pulled low, like she's trying to hide herself. From what though? At first I thought maybe something happened at work, or maybe an old ex showed up. I don't know. But it's like she doesn't trust the world anymore. We used to have these moments, nothing deep, but special moments where I felt we connected more. Like when she'd stop outside the bakery and look at the cakes through the window. I'd see her smile, and I'd smile too. I always remembered what kind she stared at the longest. She never knew I paid attention like that. But now she barely pauses. Just walks the sidewalk between people, head down. There's been other stuff too. I think someone might be messing with her. She started double locking her door, put up new curtains, got one of those doorbell cameras. I thought about knocking a few times just to check in, but I don't want it to come off the wrong way. I love her. I really do. I just want her to see that. Anyway, that's why I'm writing this. I don't know if I should give her space or try to talk to her. I don't want to come off like I'm pressuring her or anything, but it's hard not to feel shut out when someone you care about acts like you're a complete stranger. I miss her. I miss how things used to be between us. I brought her flowers tonight. I'm going to surprise her. I know they say not to show up unannounced, but I think when she sees it's me, when she sees how much I care, it'll help her understand. She's just confused right now, scared, but I can fix that. She should be home any minute now. I'm being quiet, don't worry. I'm writing this from my phone while I wait. It's a little cramped under the bed, but I don't mind. Over the last few nights, I've gotten used to it. Being so close to her while she sleeps fills me with a sense of joy and protectiveness. I hope she can see how much I love her. I hope she doesn't scream. This only happened earlier this year. A work colleague was off work for a long time, not like him at all. When he eventually returned, we found out that his friend had been tragically lost by a group of football soccer jerks. They'd been in a pub watching a match for the team they supported. They were celebrating a win when a group of men from the opposing team got angry and started arguing. When my colleague and his friends left the pub, they jumped his friend and beat him so bad, he ended up in hospital, where he eventually succumbed to the injuries. This is one of the reasons I hate football, especially where I am England. Riot vans, hundreds of police, etc., always around every train station and football stadium. Sad little men willing to take a life over a bag of air getting kicked around. It's not the first time, certainly won't be the last. Someone has passed over freaking football.
There's an old rule in the mountains. If you're caught in a storm, you can take shelter in any cabin you find. No questions asked. One night, I got trapped in a blizzard. I could barely see. Out of nowhere, I stumbled face first into a cabin. I knocked, and I swear I heard someone whisper, "Come in." Inside, it was pitch black. I could just make out a figure sitting in the corner. I thanked them, but they didn't answer. All I heard was heavy, wheezy breathing. When I offered to cook the rabbits I'd caught, the voice hissed back, "Hungry." All night, I stayed awake, listening to the chains rattling as the figure shifted in the dark. When daylight finally broke, I saw the truth. It wasn't a man. It wasn't even alive. It was a corpse, shackled in a bear trap, long dead. But something had been breathing beside me all night. And when I checked my bag, one of my rabbits was gone. I wasn't alone seeking shelter from the blizzard.